Next up in our redrafting series, we have the 2016 NHL Draft, the draft that was headlined by Auston Matthews, and the big storyline in this draft was the Toronto Maple Leafs finally getting that franchise player that they were looking for. Now, usually in these videos I redraft the entire first round, but since the 2016 NHL Draft is still relatively recent, I'm only going to be redrafting the top 20 picks. Before getting into my rankings, here's a quick look at the original top 20 picks from the 2016 Draft. We had Auston Matthews in line 1 and 2, then we had Pierre Luc Dubois, Jesse Puljujarvi, Olli Juolevi, Matthew Tkachuk, Clayton Keller, Alex Nylander, Miguel Cirelli, and Tyson Jost. And then picks 11 through 20 were Logan Brown, Michael McLeod, Jake Bean, Charlie McAvoy, Luke Kunin, Jacob Chychrun, Donte Fabbri, Logan Stanley, Kiefer Bellows, and Dennis Cholowski. And before we get into the video, as always, if you guys are new, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Starting the video off with the number 20 pick, I have the Detroit Red Wings selecting Luke Kunin, who was originally the 15th overall pick in this draft by the Minnesota Wild. And maybe Luke Kunin doesn't have the potential to be like a top line contributor in the NHL, but I think when he reaches his full potential, he's going to be a very, very good top 9 forward. Kunin has played in 104 career games so far and has 16 goals and 18 assists for 34 points, and he's put up great numbers in his time spent in the American Hockey League as well. Next up at pick number 19, we have the New York Islanders selecting Brett Howden, who was originally the 27th overall pick in this draft by the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, Brett Howden would not play a game with the Lightning. He was sent over to the Rangers in a trade, and last year Howden was actually pretty productive for the Rangers with 23 points in 66 NHL games. And sort of like what I mentioned with Luke Kunin, maybe Howden doesn't have the potential to be a first-line NHL player, but he has shown some great flashes of what he can do offensively over the past 2 seasons. Moving on now to pick number 18, I have the Winnipeg Jets selecting Sam Steele, who was originally the 30th overall pick in this draft by the Ducks. Now, Sam Steele doesn't have the amount of NHL games played as Luke Kunin and Brett Howden do, but I think he's got a lot more upside than those guys and the potential to be a really good second line centerman in the NHL one day. He's got 11 points in 32 NHL games this season, and he had 41 points in 53 American Hockey League games last year. With the 17th overall pick, I have the Nashville Predators selecting defenseman Phillip Roenick, who was originally selected 53rd overall in this draft by the Red Wings, so he's jumping up a good amount of spots. Phillip Roenick has been one of the lone bright spots in a year that has kind of been a joke for the Detroit Red Wings. He's got 19 points in 36 NHL games, and last year in 46 NHL games, he had 23 points. Roenick has a ton of upside, and the Predators definitely have a knack for turning defensemen into studs, so if he went to that organization, I think they'd develop him into a great two-way defender. With the 16th overall pick, I have the Arizona Coyotes selecting defenseman Victor Mete, who was originally the 100th overall pick in this draft by the Montreal Canadiens, so he has made a huge jump. Sure, his offensive game hasn't really broke through at the NHL level just yet, but you can tell he's a very skilled defenseman, and he put up pretty good numbers in junior as well. And last year in 71 games, he did have 13 assists, but was one of Montreal's most steady and reliable guys, and same goes for this year, but he's already got 3 goals as opposed to having 0 last year. Moving on now to pick number 15, I have the Minnesota Wild selecting Jesper Bratt, who was originally a 6th round pick by the New Jersey Devils in this draft, so he's made a huge jump into the top 20. And I honestly think Jesper Bratt has the potential to be a very good first line winger in this league. His skill set is amazing, he's a great skater, and he's putting up great numbers so far in his young NHL career with 78 points in 155 career games. He may be struggling a little bit this season, but he's still a super young player with a ton of potential. With pick number 14, I have the Boston Bruins selecting defenseman Donte Fabbri, who is originally the 17th overall pick in this draft by the Nashville Predators. This season is Donte Fabbri's first full year in the NHL, and he's played 35 games and has 3 goals and 5 assists for 8 points, and those numbers don't really jump out at you, but his overall game has just looked very solid for a 21-year-old defenseman, and he is playing sheltered minutes in Nashville because their blue line is so good. With the 13th overall pick, I have the Carolina Hurricanes selecting Tyson Jost, who was originally the 10th overall pick in this draft by the Avalanche, and his numbers haven't really lit the world on fire since coming into the league, but I honestly think the Avalanche threw him into the fire a little bit too early, and maybe a full year in the American Hockey League would really have benefited his development, but he definitely hasn't been bad either. He's got 60 career points in 174 career games, and definitely has the potential to be a second line center in the NHL one day. With the 12th overall pick, I have the New Jersey Devils selecting defenseman Adam Fox, and he very well could climb way higher on this list in years to come, but since he has only played 35 NHL games, I couldn't really justify putting him any higher than the number 12 spot. So far this season, in 35 games with the Rangers, he has 17 points and looks like he's already a veteran out there, even though he's just 21 years old. old. Fox was originally a 3rd round pick in this draft by Calgary, and the Rangers have to be pretty happy that he wanted to play for them. Moving on now, with the 11th overall pick, I have the Ottawa Senators selecting defenseman Samuel Girard, who was originally a 2nd round pick in this draft by the Nashville Predators. He would only play 5 games with the Predators, but then he was sent to the Avalanche in the Kyle Turris and Matt Duchene trade, and Girard has just been very good for the Avalanche over the past 2 years, and sure, maybe he doesn't have the potential to be a number 1 defenseman, but he's not really ever going to have to because they have Cale Makar. But Samuel Girard is a very solid top 4 defenseman already, and he's only going to get better. And now getting into the top 10, 10th overall I have the Avalanche selecting defenseman Miguel Cirelli, who was originally the 9th overall pick in this draft by the Montreal Canadiens. Now, Cirelli only played 4 games with Montreal before being traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning for Jonathan Drouin. And Cirelli definitely, in my opinion at least, has the potential to be like a number 1 defenseman on a team, but since he's been with the Tampa Bay Lightning, he hasn't really gotten the opportunity because he's playing behind the likes of Ryan McDonough and Victor Hedman. Next up at number 9, I have the Montreal Canadiens selecting defenseman Jacob Chychrun. Now, it might be a little controversial that I have him ahead of Miguel Cirelli, but I think overall, as a defenseman, his complete game is a little bit better than Sergachev's, at least at this point in time. Sure, he doesn't have the offensive game that Sergachev has, but Chychrun has been very good over the past 4 seasons with Arizona. The one thing is, he just really hasn't been able to stay healthy, as the most games he's played in a season up until this point is 68, and that came in the 2016-17 season. With the number 8 overall pick, I have the Buffalo Sabres selecting goaltender Carter Hart, who is already such a good NHL level goaltender at just the young age of 21 years old, and you really don't see that too often. This season, Carter Hart has a 12-7-3 record, a .912 save percentage, and a 2.33 goals against average. Philadelphia definitely lucked out getting him 48th overall in this draft because, in my opinion, in a redraft, he is a lock to go in the top 10. With pick number 7, I have the Arizona Coyotes once again drafting Clayton Keller. This is the exact same spot he was selected at in the actual 2016 draft. I just feel like he really fits that team, and he's just been great for them over the past 3 years, including this one. He's really starting to get hot offensively lately, as he's got 10 goals and 18 assists for 28 points in 38 games. He's already been a top line contributor for them, and he's only going to continue to get better as his career goes on. With pick number 6, I have the Calgary Flames selecting centerman Pierre Luc Dubois, who was originally the 3rd overall pick in this draft by the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think it would be a great 1-2 punch for Calgary if they had Sean Monahan as their number 1 center, and then Pierre Luc Dubois as the number 2 center, because right now that number 2 center is Michael Backlund, and while he's good, I think he's more suited as like a number 3 center. And Pierre Luc Dubois has been very good ever since coming into the league. He's got 134 career points and 200 career games already, and he's only 21 years old. Next up at number 5, I have the Vancouver Canucks selecting defenseman Charlie McAvoy, who was originally the 14th overall pick in this draft by the Boston Bruins. And McAvoy is already a very, very good two-way defenseman, and I feel like that's kind of what Vancouver drafted Olli Juolevi to be, so I think Charlie McAvoy would be a perfect fit for that team. This season, McAvoy has yet to score a goal, but he does have 12 assists for 12 points and is a plus 11 in 37 games, and hopefully he can stay healthy because he hasn't even played over 65 games in his career in 1 season yet. Next up at the number 4 spot, I have the Edmonton Oilers selecting Alex DeBrincat. Could you imagine Connor McDavid playing on a line with this kid who literally scored 40 goals last year? And I know this season he isn't scoring at that rate, as he only has 8 goals through the first 37 games of the season, but he has already shown us what he can do. He has the potential to be a 50 goal scorer in the NHL, in my opinion. He's got amazing hands, has a lightning quick release, and in my opinion would be a perfect fit on the Edmonton Oilers team. With the 3rd overall pick, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets selecting Matthew Tkachuk, who was originally selected 6th overall in this draft by the Calgary Flames, and I was honestly tempted to put Matt Tkachuk at number 2. I think he's that good. He's already, in my opinion, one of the best power forwards in the NHL, and I think throughout this season he has been Calgary's most consistent and reliable forward. He's got 14 goals and 18 assists for 32 points in 37 games, and this is coming off a season last year where he had 30 goals and 70 plus points. With pick number 2, I have the Winnipeg Jets selecting Austin Matthews. Okay, obviously that was a joke. I have the Winnipeg Jets selecting Patrik Laine. He's having a bounce back year, and I love to see that for him because he was getting a lot of unfair criticism last year, in my opinion. Yes, he definitely had a down year, but he still scored 30 goals as a 20-year-old. If you're 20 years old and 30 goals is considered a down year, I think you're doing okay. He's got 13 goals and 21 assists this season for 34 points in 34 games. That 21 assists is already 1 assist higher than he had all of last season. And now to finish out the video, at the number 1 spot, I have Austin Matthews. I'm sure everybody saw this was coming, and in my opinion, he has 100% been the best player from this draft class from all their rookie seasons up until this point in time. He's got 41 points this year in 37 games. I really just hope he can stay healthy because we haven't seen a full healthy season from Matthews since his rookie year in 2016-17 where he scored 40 goals. This draft class for the most part has definitely turned out to be very good, but in my opinion 100% Matthews is still the number one guy from it. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section below what draft do you want me to do a redraft of next, because this is definitely a fun series and you guys really seem to like it. And if you did disagree with any of my picks, make sure to let me know what your redraft would look like and why. And with all that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to go down there and smash a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in tomorrow's video.